Hi, everyone. I had to do a quick little video on Elon Musk talking to a BBC reporter because it was just so satisfying to watch this inept BBC propagandist reporter, like how they all are. They come into interviews nowadays, no matter who they're interviewing, whether it's like Danielle Smith in Alberta or anybody that's probably on the right side. They come at attacking like they are so superior because in their bubble world, that they've been in with their head up their ass for this long, they think that they're so superior, and they do not realize that they are the biggest perpetrators of misinformation. They're they have been deceived, a lot of them, and they are also just uneducated and stupid about this subject or living in some sort of fantasy world or whatever. That's why it was pretty fun to see Elon take this BBC reporter down, but he did it in such a nice way, in such a classy way, too. Now, I'm not saying Elon Musk is like some sort of savior, but right now, because I don't really know all what he's getting up to, but for now, at least he's one guy, one billionaire that has something to say and is doing something about free speech and has at least put his money where his mouth is, okay? Which is a lot better than what any TV network or corporation is willing to do for you. They're willing to keep their head up their ass and keep with the narrative because they don't want to lose their jobs. They're too cowardly to even go there. And actually looking at the information would crush them. That's how cowardice they are. But I'm not going to use a video of mine and talk about it. I'm going to do what somebody else put on YouTube. So I'm podcasting using another podcaster.
Free speech is meaningless unless you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. And if at the point at which you lose free speech, it doesn't come back.
So what about people who pushed Russiagate conspiracies? Were they let back? How about people who said it was a conspiracy to think that the COVID virus came from a lab instead of from a wet market? What about those people? Are they going to be banned now? So it's only the stuff that he doesn't like that should be banned. You could say that masks actually work. You could say lockdowns work. You could say all that stuff, and they're going to get let back on, even though we now know that was all made up misinformation.
Well, who's to say that something is misinformation? Who's the arbiter of that? Is it the BBC?
You're literally asking me?
Yes.
Yes, he's literally asking you, who is the arbiter of the information? Who are you going to let decide where you get your information from? Just put it all out there and you make up your own mind. Because BBC, Global, CTV, here, we all know this now. They're not telling you the right thing anymore. But nobody's ever been able to question these mofos because they don't sit down and do an interview. Now, this little unprepared doofus actually did one, and he got his ass handed to him.
Yeah, like the misinformation and hydroxychloroquine. You mean that kind of misinformation, those lies told by big pharma funded corporations? But he's going to get to it. I shouldn't have stopped it.
BBC itself has at times published things that are false.
That's right.
Do you agree that that has occurred?
I'm quite sure the BBC have said things before that turn out to not be true.
Right.
It's funny to watch the journalists start to sound like a politician, isn't it? As soon as he's asked a direct question that pops the bubble that he's living in, he starts stammering and obfuscating and talking around the question. You're literally asking me, and now he's stammering. They lie about every war. They've lied about the Syria war, Libya war, Iraq war, the Afghanistan, now this Ukraine. They're lying about every war.
It's so true. When the news says something and it's inaccurate, like basically everything they've ever said to you, nobody's holding them to account. Nobody's saying anything to them. Nobody's deplatforming them. Nobody's kicking them off. It's just people are turning them off, which is good, right? They're turning off.
Except there has to be a line in terms of hate speech. I mean, you're not looking at total 100% unrestricted speech.
I generally am of the opinion that if the people of a given country are against a certain type of speech, they should talk to their elected representatives and pass a law to prevent it. What hate speech are you talking about?
For the rest of Twitter.
You see more hate speech personally?
I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No.
So if something is slightly sexist, he shouldn't have to see it. Someone else should have to read it first and then decide he doesn't get to see it because it's too painful for him and ban that.
And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
you
don't.
Can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore because I just don't particularly like it.
You said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only
hang on a second. You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Oh my God.
So then you must have at some point seen your hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's a false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was...
It's very good. It was a very good comeback from Elon. Like, if you're a reporter and you go in that unprepared that you don't have any examples, you're going to accuse this man, a very rich, smart man, of hate speech, and you can't come up with an example, and you sit there and flounder. You should be fired. I just really enjoyed that little exchange there. And hey, I didn't say anything. I let the podcasters say it. So I'm not saying it. So if that's on YouTube, nobody kick me off YouTube for putting what's already on YouTube, because I'm always violating YouTube community standards, though I don't know whose community I'm violating. I thought I had my own community. Do I not have my own community of people? Whose community am I violating here? Hopefully no one.